Well, if I look like I've been through some things, we have. But we're also about to go through some more things because we are about to go through what has become a spring tradition here, and it involves my bread knife. So if you've been around, you know that that means it's time to bring the bananas out of storage. In a minute, I'm going to show you the whole picture here so you can see like what a dirty mess I am just from trying to drag these things up the stairs from the basement. I do wonder sometimes why I do this to myself, and then midsummer I go, this is why we do this. So to catch you all up on this, I grow 2 red Abyssinian bananas. That's Ensete, Maurelli, ventricosum, or ventricosum Maurelli, one of the two, it doesn't matter. These are not true bananas. Those are Musa. This is an ornamental thing we call a banana. I have now, this is going to be year 4, I think, for one of them. And then last year I added another one, and so it is year 2 for that. I grow these here in my southeastern Wisconsin zone now 6A garden, and they are not remotely hardy here, so I store them every year in the cold, dark storage portion of my basement. Every year they come up looking absolutely terrible, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second, and they manage to make it anyway. Yes, there are mostly hardy bananas. There is actually a new one that has red leaves, which is kind of interesting, but I grow these. So I know I'm making it hard on myself, but you know, why not? All right, so let me show you how bad these look. If you've seen these videos before, this is going to look very drastic, and we just cross our fingers and hope it works out. And so far, knock on fake wicker wood, it has every year. So maybe you can see just what a mess I am here. This is the end of a long day of gardening, and I saved the messiest job for last. Here are the patients. The smaller one that's leaning here is the original banana, which is significantly smaller. It's gotten sort of smaller over the years. That is banana number 2. Banana number 2 is a hot mess, you guys. So the process here is pretty simple. Basically what I do is I cut away the stuff that is definitely rotten. You know, oh look, it's still shooting water all over the place. This year I stored them a little differently and left the leaves on, so I guess we have no choice but to cut this one off. I don't know. We just cut away till we feel like we don't need to cut anymore, and then I pot them up into sort of temporary holding pots, bring them inside to start sprouting, and they will get planted out in the garden when it's warm enough, which around here is usually early June. So let's get on with it. So the original video of bringing them out from storage, the very first year I did it, is still out there. And in it I asked the question, even in the thumbnail I think I asked the question, did it survive? And if you look at the comments, the vast majority of people said, nope, no way that thing survived. Clearly it did, because here it is. But I agree, it looks rough. I also have a bit of a tradition of cutting myself while doing this. So we're going to try not to do that. So, you know, often I think I probably cut too much back, but it just never seems like a good idea to have rotten material on there. This one is in far better shape than the big guy. The big guy is, I actually am a little worried about that, but we'll show you that in a second. We're going to do this one first because it's going to be way easier to do. So you can see there's a ton of water left in these. You know, there is a method of storage where you sit them upside down for a time, and I did a version of that. Like for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I propped them upside down in storage. And I do think it helped, but I couldn't do that this year when I was leaving the leaves on the top. So that was not an option, but there's still so much water in these. It's shocking. So when I say cold, dark storage, this is the same spot in my basement where I store dahlias. It's completely dark, and I would say it's, I don't know, probably between 45 and 50 degrees most of the time. Now we have a lot of anything that's black, you can see is not good. Healthy stuff is definitely lighter in color. That said, it really is shocking at how much these can withstand, how much abuse these things can withstand at my hand. Okay, actually, I think that's about as much as I'm going to cut off until we get to the top here. Let me show you what that looks like. So like I said, I left the top here, but you can see this is all moldy here and obviously broken. So obviously that leaf's not going to amount to anything. I'm just going to cut it right there. And you can see the rest of it here. This actually, I think, looks, normally I wouldn't have said this looks good, but compared to other bananas I brought out, this actually looks pretty darn good. So that's all I'm going to do, and then I'm going to pot this one up. God, I wish the other one was going to be as easy. It's not. Now you can cut these down dramatically. In fact, Marianne Woburn, author of Tropical Plants and How to Love Them, who is responsible for me starting this stupid banana thing, actually cut one down last year to about here and completely started fresh on it. So even if it's a total disaster in many other ways, you can actually do that. Nothing but the best for my bananas, little Organics Mechanics peat-free container blend. So let me just show you, if I can. This is all that's left of the roots when you're done with them at the end of the season. It's shocking that these things are huge and wave around in the wind and manage to stay upright. So this is a very temporary home for this. The whole reason you do this is just to allow it to start growing some stabilizing roots so that when you do put it out in the ground, it can grow. And actually, I'm going to put some more, I'm going to lift this thing out and put some more soil in. What a colossal mess. So the only things this really needs to get going, well, is primarily light, a little bit of water, and I do not water these pots until I get them in the house just to make them easier to get in there because we have to go up some more stairs. But it's shocking how quickly these take off once they get a little bit warmer and a little bit of light. Primarily the light. The light is the big thing. Oh. So one of the things I do with this is I wrap a towel around it, which sort of a method of controlling the moisture with it. But this towel, this is always sacrificed at the end of the season. We never want to see that towel again. Nothing to do but start chopping. Just always so, these plants are so stinking cool though. Just amazing. So one of the things that's quite interesting every time I do a video about the bananas is that usually there's people who also grow these, who watch them and leave comments, and you will find that they do something, take a very different approach than I do. And I always think that that is a good sign that it's not as hard as you think it is, because if a whole bunch of people are doing a whole bunch of different things and they're all having success with it, well, then that seems to me like you got a lot of options and you'll be okay. All right, this feels pretty good there. All right, this is the juiciest one I've ever had come out of winter. So I'm just going to remember that they always look bad. What I also know is that you can always cut off more later, which I have in the past once it's inside. So we're going to stop there. It's so heavy. This is like 80 pounds of water. That is not easy. That looks terrible. They always look terrible. We will see how these grow, and of course you will see what happens with them. That one I have no worries about whatsoever. The big guy, who's not nearly as big anymore, he is really, really wet, but we'll see what happens. Well, fortunately, I was delivered a gin and tonic during that project. So I'm going to have a sip of that. I'm going to muscle these things up the stairs, put them in the only room we really have in the house that has any sort of decent light in it, in terms of enough light for plants, which is Mr. Much More Patient's office. So these are his co-workers for the next month and a little bit. Lucky him. He loves banana time, I assure you. I'm going to go find some trays to set these on, get those up there. Thank you for coming along on the beginning of another year of the banana journey. If you grow one of these, let me know. Let me know if you brought your out yet, if you overwintered it, if you're going to grow it again. I want to know all the things. All right, have a great day in your garden. Thanks for coming along with me on the banana journey, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.